out there in Atlanta? It's Chris from HHNLegacy.com with another exciting episode of My Talking Head. Been a little bit of a little time in between My Talking Head episodes. As I said in the last video, there'll probably be a little bit of time between announcements, and lo and behold, it's the end of July. So yes, so we have our first announcement in quite some time. There's been some shakeups, but there's been some things going on that has delayed some things and moved some things around, and the delay schedule or the release schedule is all kind of fucked up. But nevertheless, here we are. We have another original house was announced today, and this one is Carnival Graveyard Rust in Pieces. Get it? Rust in Pieces. Carnival Graveyard Rust in Pieces. I'm not a fan of the name either. if you haven't figured it out. A lot of the names this year are actually kind of really top notch. This is one that just kind of feels lazy to me. As a matter of fact, the whole house feels lazy to me. Now let me backtrack and let me sort of explain why I'm not as big of a fan of this house as probably some other people are. Those that know me and my history at Horror Nights, just because a house is an original doesn't automatically move it to the top of the list for me. Just because a house has some really great set design doesn't always jump the house to the top of the list for me. Houses to me, the Universal Orlando is known for their set design and their over the top stuff, and the look at the pretty things, that type of thing. But at the same time, a house for me, aside from the set design, if you're going to go big, then you also need the scares. It's not just about the set design for me. A good example of this, I got into some flack a couple years ago with the first American Horror Story house. The set design on that house was actually really well done, but that house for me was just so freaking boring. It just didn't, it didn't do anything for me. This is one of those houses that I've been hearing about forever. This is one of the first or earliest, I should say, houses that I heard about. But what's funny about it is that over the course of the 6 months or so, there's never been anything new that's sort of come out about this house. Yes, it takes place in the Carnival Graveyard, or a dilapidated carnival, if you will. Pick your poison, however you want to call it. Dilapidated carnival, Carnival Graveyard. It's called Carnival Graveyard. And there are like evil carnies running around, and they're using old pieces of these things to torture people with and whatever. But nothing else new has sort of come out about this house over the course of months. And even with the release today, with the stuff on the blog, there was nothing new added to it, which makes me a little nervous about the house, because that's all we're getting. There doesn't seem to be any surprises in this house. It just seems, evil carnies running around just seems so freaking bland to me. And, clowns. Of course, if you're scared of clowns and mimes and things of that nature, then, this is going to be a nightmare for you. I'm not one of those guys, but, it just seems so simple. And, if the sets are grand and the sets are great, and which I'm hearing they are, that's fine, but you have to have a little bit more in there for me to get behind you. Last year was a good example of a house that didn't have the grandiose sets that everybody sort of universally loved, and that was Scarecrow, the Reaping. The sets on that were not elaborate. It fit within the context of the house they were trying to tell. But there was nothing overly elaborate about the sets, but it was scary. It was turned out to be one of, if not the scariest houses that Horror Nights has done in a long time, and a lot of people really love that house. You take that with something on the opposite side, with The Fallen. A lot of people really didn't like The Fallen. I happen to be one of the only people in the world who like The Fallen, but a lot of people didn't like The Fallen, but that had the sets to go with it. The set design on that was actually really cool. And it just didn't click. It didn't click with people. So I hope that we're not falling into a situation with this particular house, with that, where it's the sets are nice. You walk through, oh, look at the pretty things, colors and lights. And it's a carnival. It's a dilapidated carnival. What's cooler than that, But, I just, based on what's come out about this house, there's not enough there for me to get really jazzed about it. I'm excited about the house, but it's not, it's kind of down here right now as opposed to up here. And the concept, like, I'll switch gears a little bit. When we talk about Slaughter Cinema, that is hands down my most anticipated house, because that has a lot of potential. The concept alone has a lot of potential to do a lot. There's a lot you can play with in that sort of concept, in the world of B movies and the grind housing thing and what have you. There's a lot more to work with there. Whereas this just feels like, oh yeah, it's a carnival and there are evil carnies running after you who want to kill you. And so it's such a bland concept for me, or at least the potential is kind of bland, which is why I'm not super, super jazzed about this. But it is what it is. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about this because it is an original house. And believe me, some of the stuff that's about to be announced here shortly is probably going to send people into it is Shark Week, a feeding frenzy of vitriol here. Mark my words. It's going to be one or two things going to be announced here. Maybe just one thing, but that's going to be announced here shortly. That's not going to sit well with people. So I think it's smart of them to release this now because, like I said, it is an original. People love the original houses and the original concepts. So it's no surprise, given what's coming, that they sort of drop this perhaps in between. There might be another announcement at some point in the next 7 days or so. We'll see how that plays out. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's it for Carnival Graveyard. Like I said, there's not a whole lot to say other than it's in a carnival and there are evil carnies running around after you, and sometimes they use the rides and shit to put together torture devices. If you like that stuff, then, if that sounds interesting to you, then this is going to be the house for you. It is not the house for me. So, or at least right now, I should say. it's not like I'm totally pushing it aside. Yeah, it's still way early. My thing is that I just haven't heard enough about what's going on in here, other than the flat concept of evil carnies are running after you and trying to kill you. It's just such a generic thing that I'm not, totally on board yet. But I like the Carnival Graveyard. Like, the concept is fine. Like, it's interesting and whatnot, but there's just not enough details being given or coming out about this house that, I'm like, yes, let's do this, Unlike Slaughter Cinema, which I said has a much more, that's my alarm. I'm going to run out of time here. So the Slaughter Cinema to me has a lot more, places to maneuver to do more things, for it to, overshadow, unlike this, which is just so flat. Man, I really wanted to know. This is frustrating because I wanted to know. I was hoping that after the 6 months or so that I've been hearing about this, that when it was finally announced, we'd get a little bit more on that blog when it was announced. But I just didn't get it. I got the same stuff I've been hearing for 6 months, and I was like, why? So anyway, so Carnival Graveyard, Rust in Pieces, is here. That's it for today. If you like my shirt that I'm wearing, by the way, my Spacebar shirt, you can go to my Spreadshirt shop and get this, and also some Horror Nights stuff, or HHN Legacy stuff, I should say. You can go there if you want to. It's there. I'll put the link in the description below. And that's it. So until next time, we might be talking sooner rather than later, guys. But until next time, that's it for me. And I'll talk to you later.